Welcome to What I Meant to Say, where we discuss parenting, relationships, and wisdom that can be passed down through generations. So welcome back to What I Meant to Say. We've done this before, and we went off on some interesting roads on that one. So I encourage people to look back. You and I have had, now that I think about it, I think it's been about 6 years since you came up to me and said, do you play volleyball? And you had just met. I was trying to remember how we met. And so there's an energy between us because we're kind of out there exploring things. And we always feel like we need to come back to these conversations because
I feel like we've always kind of been in the same sphere, like around each other. Just didn't really know like the other person existed until we were like, oh, hey, like, how are you?
Right. But it's almost like we knew each other. There's like a consciousness thing. 100%. And I think the part of generational healing that goes and explores these avenues to greater self-awareness, like we're both attracted to those avenues. And then we can have these conversations, whether it's human design or you were talking about gene keys or nutrition. But really, in the end, it's all the ways that our body and our mind and our spirit aligns to tell the story.
Yeah.
I mean, and how do we elevate?
Yeah, so whatever system or
right. I mean, because if
it's all
you realize all these things as you learn them, they lead back to the same place. It's the quantum field. There's no separation. We're all one. And how can we keep rising in that level of consciousness?
There is an interconnected field that connects all things, right? It's energy, consciousness, like whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to.
What's going to
justify it or whatever.
What's going to bring you along? And I guess the concept of like, as human beings, we all have a healing journey to go on, but it's also not just healing. It's ascending. It's learning more. It's being curious about what's out there and not being scared to find out. And I wonder, like, what makes you so open to that journey?
Inherently, I know this isn't my first time. You know what I mean? Like, like there's so many people I've met along the way and how these weird deja vu experiences they just keep happening. Like, more and more and more and more. For me, it's just sheer curiosity. You know, like, what the hell did I forget? You know, like, because like we were talking about kind of last night, is information just kind of finds its way to me and it'll just be like sitting there, and then all of a sudden I can just like go off on a tangent, like, I don't know where that came from. It just bubbled up inside and needed to come out.
Do you think everybody this is available to every human being, and it's just a matter of being open to it?
Oh, 1,000%. Yep. That is the one thing that I know to be 1,000,000% true, is everybody has access to this. This is literally your birthright, your God-given right of just basically being born, is you have access to this field of information, energy, whatever you want to call it. It exists, it's there, and it works with you. Like, this is where we forget, is like, we live in such a like cerebrally driven society of like, we have to plan this out, you know, we have to X, Y, and Z needs to happen in order for us to, things are about to change. So there's a lot of music that has a lot of like really deep hidden things, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been dead for some of the stuff. Prince, Michael Jackson.
Really, I'm fascinated by music. I've always been drawn to music, and it's something that like has been extremely healing for me. And whether it's,
well, you familiar with the like the, what is the decibels? I think it's like 430.
All the frequencies. Like, I listen to them all the time.
Well, so music.
Okay.
It used to be tuned to, I think it was like 434 hertz. Don't quote me on that one. I don't remember the exact. Yeah. The Rockefeller, whoever, someone changed
the frequency of
hit, how we tune our music to a different frequency. So people like Jimi Hendrix,
yes,
they tune their music to the original right?
Okay.
There's certain artists you can tell.
Yeah.
Like that they're tuned to the original like frequency that it should be at as opposed to what they switched it to.
Because frequency is just, it's the same as, I mean, it's levels of consciousness, right? Like it can unlock, like if you're listening to music that has a very low level of consciousness, it's like fear and anger and shame, that's going to promote that in you. And then as you rise up, I mean, whether it's the lyrics or the tone, the tune, the frequency, it makes a difference in the way that you emote in the world, the way that you as a human being are changed.
Oh,
that's been my experience.
That's
right?
1,000% what it is. But the reasoning as to why, right, is to me the cool thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I have this whole thing with reality. I think it's the coolest thing in the world that like everything's made of light. Like that's really it. Like we are made of light. It's just a very. I'm not even going to try, and I don't know anything about how we ended up doing it like this, but I just know that's how it is.
That's
and
what human beings are.
We are.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's literally everything. Hue, light.
Yes.
We are the light manifestation of man.
And that's where, so even in this healing process, recognizing that light within yourself versus that shadow of the darkness. And I've been doing, like, there's no separation between the healing of your body and your mind and your spirit, right? And we've been working with this company called LifeWave, and it literally, they're patches that work with the light in your body, the infrared light in your body. They reflect into these patches and they activate the peptides in your body and help you heal. I got to get you to try them.
As above, so below, huh?
Yeah. And there is no drugs in them. They are non-transdermal. It's amazing the way that, and you know that all they're working with is the light in your body. Like the bill of goods that we're being fed as Americans, from the soil to the food to the drugs that we're being prescribed for all these ailments that we have, that we are whole. We can heal ourselves. And nobody in the mainstream media is talking to it. And that's why you and I and all the people that are like turning off the TV. I haven't watched TV in 8 years.
Yeah,
and
every once in a while.
Sports. Here's the deal.
I'll
watch.
I think sports are.
Well, I know. You want to go down? Do you want to go down that road? You want to go down that road?
I'll go down that road.
Yeah. There's so much out there that every day I wake up, I go, "What's real? Like, what am I seeing that's real?" And human connection is the thing that tells me which way to go. Like, it's, yes, that connection. No, not that one. That feels, and the more you learn to trust your intuition and not be scared of the information that you're getting, the better off we are. And that's where that collective starts to come in.
And like the cool thing about that, right, is like, what are you doing when you do that, right? Like, how does that work? Like, what's the actual like mechanism? You know, like what do I need to pay attention to in order for that to, like, so I can notice it? So
trust your gut.
This is where the human design comes in, though,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
Because
so for people that don't know, short description of what human design is.
So human design, basically, they took astrology, right? Like the snapshot of what was happening energetically in the cosmos, as above, so below. I say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just get used to it, people. But what was happening at that precise moment that your soul like chose to incarnate, right? Like you picked this.
Yep.
You picked it.
Mm-hmm.
So they took that, and there's a very long, old, like I'm still kind of getting into all of that, you know, based on like the I Ching and all the understanding of, you know, like the different vibrations of energy and where all this stuff comes from. And like, there's a lot. It's a science. It's literally a science.
Yeah.
It's a science. So it's basically just like a way of understanding the different energies and like archetypes that flow through you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
consciously and subconsciously.
Consciously and subconsciously, right? So it'll point out certain things that you're like, oh, like that's definitely part of like my conscious behavior.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know, like me personally, like for example, I kind of like float through life. Like I go from like relationship to relationship, not necessarily like, you know, dating or whatnot, but just like from person to person, like I kind of dance through life in a sense. That's how I'm designed to just flow. Like you kind of said, of just like, oh, you know, like, and for me, like, my energy type of manifestor, right? I just have like urges to do shit. But it's weird because sometimes it's not necessarily my urge, right? It's something else, like somewhere. Learning to discern like what comes from here, what may be coming from here externally. Yeah. But again, back to like, how do you do that? Right. Well, this gets into that idea of like unlearning everything that you think you know about how you function and what society's told you. Right. Because the mind isn't the dominant operating system. The heart is. Right? Like the third eye will carry you. That's where you're going to see. That's going to give you the vision to move forward in life. But it's going to come from your heart. What makes that important is the heart's connection to the body. Yeah. Right? And your body's not going to lie to you. Right? Like, and again, there's different like ways. Like I'm an emotional, there's not emotional. So like,
I'm an emotional.
Yeah. So it's like you and I need to take time. Like when something happens, I basically have to be like, I need to take an hour or like a day and like not think about it, feel it out. Yeah. Right. I need to let my body process all the information. Yep. Because that's the thing, is the body processes everything. The mind just, it analyzes. Yeah. And I used to think before I knew human design, the first time when I ran mine, I felt so understood in a way, like I understood myself in a way that I had never even I felt seen. Yeah, trying to explain to my mom was like, yeah, no, like I don't need to work that hard.
Right. And you and I, so we also came from athletic backgrounds, right? And that concept,
it's so counterintuitive.
It's so counterintuitive to an athlete of like grind harder, do more, do more, do more.
It's like know when to do more.
Yes.
When you have the urge to do more.
Yeah. Know when you need to rest. I'm a projector, so that whole concept of like, you mean I actually need that rest that I'm constantly craving, and I thought was so wrong. I was shaming myself like
I still to this day, like I'll shame myself. I'm like, I just want to sleep for like 2 days. Like, no, you need to go to the gym. Yeah. Get your ass up. Yeah. It's like, nah, like I just want to lay here, like read
because you're going with the flow. Right? Like you're going with the flow of your personality, you're understanding your body better, and then you're just more efficient in the way you move through life.
And you know what's wild is I have all these things that like I want to do. You know, like I know I'm going to write a book at some point. The fuck is going to be, I don't know.
Still coming together.
Yeah, like I wrote something the other day, just sat down and like a chapter of something came out.
That's good. That's really how it works. Yeah. I've got so much.
But it's like, just lately, there's been this kind of just like big pause in my life. I have my own theories about a lot of the energetic stuff that's happening with our planet and, you know, systems collapsing and all this kind of stuff. Like, you need to take a breath because come springtime, like, that's going to be the new year, by the way, not fucking December or January 1st. It starts in Aries, and then human productivity kicks in gear in the spring, in the summer. Yeah. It's like if we just learn to live in a much more simple rhythm with nature.
Well, and that's the thing. I think people like what you're describing is like the simpler way to be attuned to the world as a human being. And like, as you talk about it like that, I can feel my nervous system just kind of, calms down. It feels right to me. When you flip the TV on and you see all the story that's being told, what does that do to your nervous system? Like, it's the antithesis of how we feel in a connected human conversation.
What would it do to your nervous system? Right? Like, what does this do to you? Wendy, you're God. You create your own reality. Whatever at every given moment, everything that is in existence around you is of your creation.
Yeah. It's a huge
That's a big responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility.
Like, it hits like a ton of bricks.
It's also very freeing.
If you're willing to accept that and like take ownership of, the crappy relationships that, like that shitty friend that I just can't get rid of. Like, what are they really doing in my life? Like, why are they in my life? You kind of start to do that introspective thing of like picking apart, like, why do I feel this way? Like a lady cut me off in traffic. I got mad. Why did I get mad?
Yeah.
Like you start finding all these like little times that you start just questioning all of your like normal behaviors all of a sudden.
And why you did those things. And you and I have talked about being an empath, right? And being like a highly sensitive person and attaching to things that are not our own, right? And being willing to ask those questions. And then when you run up against the fact that maybe you attached to something or merged with something that was not yours, having to pull back or, disassociate from that experience, that's a big thing in life, in charting your own course.
For me personally, I think it has to just do with I know because I've done a deep dive into Torin, and God, it's a never-ending process.
It is, but I think that's our calling, is to continue to know more about ourselves and the way we operate in the world.
Well, I think that we're so afraid of feeling, right? Like, you see it all the time, right? Like, it's just like friends of mine, I'm sure people do the same thing. Like, what's the daily routine for most people, right? Get up, do your thing, go to work, come home, maybe go to the gym, maybe went to the gym in the morning,
Yep.
Wash, rinse, repeat. You don't question
right
anything about it, you just go through this like mundane existence. And
what if some people are okay with that?
No, that's right. Like, that's just the lesson that they need to learn this go around, based on what we're talking about before the camera's on. So I have, for everyone who hasn't known, I have had quite a morning.
Yeah. And we had dinner last night, so we were having this.
Oh, it started at dinner last night, and it still continued into this like very moment. No, I went with a friend, and we have both been just feeling some type of way about a lot of stuff, and we were just like, we're gonna unpack some stuff tonight, like heavy.
Yeah.
And
can I just say, like, to see men in their 30s, like, having those types of conversations. Your friend had such a gentle spirit and like quality about him that's like, that is good to have in this world. And to see that in the field is really, it feels really good from a feminine perspective to see men that are showing up and asking these questions. Because it's not a woman or a man, like, everyone's capable. But there's something in the field that it feels really good to the feminine to have men willing to do those dives.
It's messed up, though. I like the current place that we're at right now.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is for
Let's talk about that.
Someone like him, for someone like me, to like navigate, like, something like trying to find love or whatever, when you have this big open heart and people conflate it with, it's one of two things that I've kind of found. Okay. There's like levels to it, but it's either they are so afraid because you're so open and loving, and they just don't know how to receive that, right? So they shut down or lash out, whatever it may be. And then the other one is the like leeches that probably are well-intended. I don't even think most people realize like what they're doing. I literally just went through something kind of like that. It's like they don't realize that like, we're going to show up for you all the time. Like, if you're one of our, like, people, if you're in our tribe, like, that's it. Like, you're fucking family, you know? And, like, we'll be there. If it's 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and, like, you're drunk somewhere, like, an hour away, like, we'll come pick you up. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it may be. But there's a flip side to that, right? That comes with, and I think this is what scares a lot of women, because they're not used to a man that is so in touch with, like, this feminine aspects of, like, that, like, emotional control, like, thoughtful sincerity, like, dark, beautiful depth that you just wouldn't expect. And, like, Will, so many people are always like, dude, I just thought you were, like, some, like, dude that just, like, hung out in the corner. Yeah, just, like, hung out in the corner. It's just like, no, like, just like, no one ever takes the time to, like, you know, sit down and have a chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, but back to, you know,
as women, what can women do for men to make them feel?
Don't tell a man how he's feeling. That's the big one. Because when a man is actually trying to tell you, like, when I'm trying to tell a woman, like, I feel something, and I feel, I mean, I'm a little different. I'll just fucking tell a stranger on the street. But, like, when a man who's much more towards, like, the societal traditional masculine right now, right, is, like, trying to, like, tell you something, listen, because we need to feel seen, we need to feel heard, and we need to feel respected. That's it. That I mean, for me, that's it. Like, as long as I feel respected, I feel that you actually are hearing what I'm saying. Because, you know, I'm a man of a lot of words, but then sometimes I'm a man of a few words, like, in certain situations. It's just, you know. Well,
and you said traditional masculine in the society. So where are we messed up on that right now?
So we have the view that, like, men just bear it silently, right? Like, I saw somebody sent me a reel on Instagram the other day, and it was actually beautiful. It was this guy, you know, big, like, bodybuilder. He's like, hey, you know, every time that you're asking a man, like, how they're doing, he says, I'm fine. That man is battling shit that you can't even fathom.
It's so true.
But we're, you know, we're just taught to repress, like, you're not supposed to fucking feel, like, you just go through it, you know, like, it's just weak stuff. Like, I mean, it's changed over time, slowly, but that's, like, still the general kind of, like, you know, like, just
soldier on,
like, pain is for the weak. Push through. It's like, no, push through the pain, but the only way out of it's through it. You know? But yeah, I don't have the answers. I'm just shed a little awareness. Hey, men, we're fucking hurting right now. Like, there's a lot of pain in the male collective. I can feel it. I felt it for so long. And I didn't know what it was until recently. I was like, oh, like, you know, that idea of, like, the divine masculine. Like, it's time for men to heal. It's time for women to heal. It's like,
it's the name of the game. Like, and I've read so many books, like, I didn't realize why I was being attracted to things. Like, I've always been the mystics, and, you know, coming through so many different religions, or even just, like, contemporary writers writing about the second half of life, right? And that second half of life hits when you start asking the questions of why, how did I get to this point? Why am I here? How can I make it meaningful and deeper and more connected? And if you can go through your whole life and never ask those questions, but when you start, you almost can't stop. And you start going down that rabbit hole, and that's when you start attracting people that are in, like, it's really lonely on one hand, but then if you just keep asking the questions, you start to attract people that are asking those same questions. And then,
I think a piece of me died this morning.
Yeah.
But like a good
okay.
way. I don't know. I'm making it a little emotional here for a second. But
yeah.
It was just like so I walked out to like 2nd Street. You know, like I haven't touched a volleyball, mind you, in months, which is very not likely.
No, you know what? I almost asked you that question a couple of times last night, and then we just kept going on other topics.
Yeah, no, I haven't played. Like, I've been talking about playing with like my other buddy who's very much like me, but it's like the universe keeps like putting something in the way of it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason it may be. That's fine. But I was just walking down 2nd Street, and then I went up to Hill to the source, you know, grabbed a little, like blue cashew latte.
I love that. That's what I ordered too.
Yeah, like I don't even know the guy's name. I forget, but we always chatted. The guy was like spiky hair. Hooked me up, gave me a free latte. He's like, bro, I haven't seen you in forever, you know, like, and I was just, you know, talk for a second. Just went, for whatever reason, that dude just gave me that coffee. Just like turned on something. And for whatever reason, it was like this piece of me, like this old life. It was like that, like a walk through the volleyball courts. Just like
it died.
Yeah.
I can see it. It's a big one.
It was weird because it was just like, you know, you pine for the old a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I'm missing. I've been missing it, and I've never played at the level you played.
I was not even to the volleyball though. Like it was just more like symbolic.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's volleyball to be played in my life.
Yeah, there is. There is.
I don't know what is to come, but something changed for me at this point.
Is it coming back? Because you've been gone. I think it's coming back to Hermosa.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm going to be open to that spot with a set up on Manhattan and PCH or by Lazy Acres. That's happening.
Okay. All right. Okay. Tell me about what you guys are going to do there.
So you know what she does at her
chiropractic.
Which
that's a minefield of, yeah. That word does not even begin to describe. Can you imagine her and I
together?
Yeah. This is going to be a special place.
No, so the space that we're opening, we call it Fix. It's definitely chiropractic, but there's a lot of other stuff. Like there's going to be like nutritional stuff, like spiritual modalities, massage therapists. We have a lot of fun. She's very techie. So there's a lot of cool equipment that we're going to be bringing in. Like, you know, we'll have like the cold plunges and oxygen chambers. Like, it's a lot of fun stuff.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's kind of going to be an ever evolving thing because we're working on developing like the system here in a little bit, like how we want to do like treatments and like those kinds of things, but it's going to be much more individualized. Like I'm supposed to have my own little corner so like go be able to work with people, and it's like I feel like it's just going to turn into this like really awesome coalition of minds that's just like, here's all these people, this is how the system that we follow to work, but she's really good at this, he's really good at that. Like pick your poison. Like who do you need?
Different ways in, and depending on where you are in your healing journey, that like I've had so many, and I love to do the research. Like,
you know what's crazy for me is I have met nothing but people in my sphere of life recently that have wanted to be in that like healer's sphere. Like a couple of my friends, for example, that I work with at the bar that I run, one wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
Another one's personal trainer, nutritionist, like working on their own business.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that are like in it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy shit.
Right. But that's what you're attracting.
And well, that's what I'm attracting, but I'm just literally like one of the freaking alcohol reps that I was talking the other day, I was just it's like, oh yeah, like I have a whatever like nutrition degree. I was like, how the fuck did you end up an alcohol rep?
Yeah, you're right.
And then I got the backstory. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And but like she's like, yeah, I just kind of fell into this job, and I've got a kid, but I've always wanted to do something with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, here's me who's sitting on, I mean, psych degree doesn't really matter. But it's like, I have personal training certs, I have nutrition coaching stuff, I'm a yoga teacher, and like, I didn't do anything with it.
I know.
But I'm like,
but you are doing it. See, well, this is the thing.
This is what I've learned, because I beat myself up for this, but I was like, hold on a second.
You and I are so the same.
Yeah. Now that I look back on it, right, I'm like, all the shit that I've learned over the last, however, like 3 probably 3 to 5 years of my life that just running around up in here. I'm like, okay, now it needs a creative outlet. And I mean, there's still more to learn, but that's why I said, I was like, I'm going to write a book or something. Yeah. Like that.
It's figuring out how to compartmentalize all that information in a way that people can take it in.
And like, I love poetry. Oh, that's I used to write poetry all the time. Like, I think it might see what comes out.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I am excited about this new space, and I see like the emotion that's connected to what you think you're letting go, but what I see is just an extension of where you've been, and bringing it at this like grounding it. You're grounding it in a space where you can actually.
Oh no, that stuff had to go.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff had to go. And, I recently had a whole thing with like a spirit guide that ended up to be like getting out of a relationship and all those. But immediately after, when you cleared that space, like, I didn't see it right away because I was hurting. I was in pain. I was like, wow, you're a fucking idiot. You just listened to a goddamn owl that just appeared in your dream.
But this stuff it's real.
Right.
Yeah, I had a praying mantis in my sink for 5 days that my kids thought I was crazy, because I'd come out every morning and I'd be like, oh, you're still here. What do you want to talk about today? Like, why are we still here? I put him up on a cup and I put him in the windowsill and be like, you can go. Next day, he's back. And so I'm huge on the animal totems. I did not grow up in a world where all of these things were embraced, like the animal totems, the spirit guides.
Not me either.
Right? So at what point did you realize that you had these spirit guides?
November. Literally when I got out of my most recent relationship. That's when I realized. I mean, okay.
Tell me about this dream.
So I was just meditating. Like, I was just always get out of the hot tub, the apartment complex we were at. And I had just, like, for a while, I had this feeling. I was like, something's just, like, missing. Like, something's just not right. I couldn't figure out what it was. And, like, I was like, let's just go away. Like, it's just, like, one of these weird things. And as, like, the times kept going on, and I'm like, what is it? And then just meditating one day, I just get this beautiful, like, white barn owl just like right my field of vision. It identifies itself as Artemis, which in like Greek and Roman mythology, that's your goddess of the universe, protector of women, very like priestess archetype, which kind of fits my whole thing. And the basic gist of it was, we kind of just had this conversation of like, hey, like, your relationship's great and you're happy, and you'll both be happy. You'll live loving, fulfilled lives. But if you take a leap of faith, because you're not as fully fulfilled as you are, and you walk away, there's going to be the space in both your lives to have more than you thought was like ever possible for yourself. And I shit you not, her life got subsequently better within 3 days.
So you acted on it.
I acted on it. It was really hard. I felt like an idiot.
And how did she take that?
It obviously not well.
Yeah, that's breakups suck.
No, there's no
breakups suck.
The only way to do is just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yes, like, that's so true.
This whole thing with like, it's the right time.
No, it's never a good day to break up. Like I've said that to so many people lately. Like it never feels good.
Yeah. Well, and there's never a good time to have that hard conversation about, or like even just dealing with the breakup. Like I was literally talking to my buddy last night, one of his friends, you know, been through a nasty breakup. And he's like, you know, like whenever you're ready, we'll have to talk. He's like, oh, it's not a good time. I was just literally last night. I was like, you just got to tell the fool, like, we're having it now. Like there's no such thing as a good time. Like, okay, maybe not while you're at work, so you're not like, like I mean, you know, you crying at the bar. Sense. Right. Yeah. But you know, it's just have it like that gets to that thing with like we're afraid to feel,
and like, we're afraid to be alone.
But we're never truly alone. That's
I agree. But people don't know that, and we want that sure thing. We want like I want this or that. And usually somewhere in the middle is I'm here standing on my own 2 feet waiting to see what I attract as I walk my path rather than trying to grab somebody and bring them in to my path. Right?
Yeah, but it's just like everybody just walk your own path.
Right.
And the ones that are supposed to cross or cross.
Yeah, they'll cross and there's not like a list of demands or like I need to have this or that or
it's an issue with control.
It is.
We have to feel, and I mean this is a big one for me. Stupid Virgo. It's my moon. Everyone always gives me shit about that one. But the idea of like control, like we try to control every finite aspect of our life. It's like, like you spend so much time and energy trying to, you know, like basically like reinvent the wheel constantly. It's like now, like just take a step back. Just like observe yourself for a minute, you know, like take one of the things with Gene Keys that I think is really important is like the idea is like contemplation, right? Like
love contemplation.
It's between meditation and what the other one?
That's the mystical way. Like,
right, it's the middle path.
Yeah,
right?
Like
you're in that calm state. There's no judgment based on your thought. Like it's literally just free flowing thought. Stream of information. I think that we don't take enough time to just contemplate at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or maybe we haven't taken enough time to just pause.
Yeah.
Throughout your day. Doesn't mean that's going to stop. Like maybe it's while you're doing the dishes. Like just take a second. Like keep doing the physical action. Just let your mind go tabula rasa.
Yeah.
Like for a minute.
Didn't yoga help bring you back to that?
Yes.
For me, that was like, I realized I was like that as a kid a lot. I loved being in the water. I used to wish I could stay underwater because it was quiet and there's something about it that was very contemplative.
Yep.
And I'd be like, why can't I be like a fish and I don't need air? Like I want to stay under here. And then you get into like those teenage years and you're wanting to, you get pulled. We were talking about my son last night. Like what, you want to fit in. You want to fit in. So then you lose some of that like mysticism and that contemplation.
You lose you give away your magic basically to what?
To what? To fitting into this world that is hurting. Right. And it's like, so coming back to that in a practice like yoga or your meditation, or we have to have these ways back in because I think the world just pulls us out of that.
We notice the irony of the situation is that it has to happen that way.
Yeah.
Like suffering is basically here to rip us to fucking shreds so we can rebuild ourselves.
Yeah.
And like it's alchemy. Like all the ancient stuff. That's literally the transmutation of lead into gold. Like, yeah, is there, if you really want to get into it, sure, like you can take your precious metals, like there's this whole thing with gold and like why we've been obsessed with it since the beginning of time. But like basically reducing down it into the monoatomic form, which can like be ingested, and it's like, you know, there's different like things like gold, copper, they all have different kind of like health benefits in terms of like you reduce those down, it's called mana. It's like the like weight substances. It's a whole thing. But alchemy in your body, right? Like taking that suffering and learning to sit with it. Like, where is it in your body? Like, what does it make you feel? Yeah, it's terrifying as all hell. But guess what? Life is not always sunshine and rainbows. Like, you gotta integrate the dark, because there's no dark without light. Like, you can't escape duality. You never can. It's how everything exists. The friction of the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah. And the accepting of both. And
because we have both.
Yeah.
And like, people can be like, oh, masculine and feminine. It's like, no. Okay. Whatever world we live in right now, it's nothing to do with the actual, like, gender. It just has to do with the opposing energy systems.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, it's polarity.
We have both. We have both, like...
within us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to balance those.
Yeah.
Right? It's like... it's very easy to tell a man that's way too feminine.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Right.
Like, you can tell a way that's way too masculine.
Yeah.
Just based on behavioral patterns.
Yeah.
How they conduct themselves. It's so obvious to see who's tilted one way. And the same thing for women.
And it's usually coming from a wound. And the thing that the world is trying to point out now to create all of this fear and hostility is that everything that is so different about each one of us. And really, when we're so much more the same than different, if we would just sit down and talk about it and not label things, and then even worse, tell kids that are hurting because they're navigating life and being a teenager is hard, that there's one thing that's causing them some kind of pain, when life is painful. And like, just being able to talk about it is what we need. It's not labeling it. Labeling it doesn't really help.
I really wish, I mean, this is kind of like my, I guess, one of my more like higher ideals that I don't believe that I know is possible. It just has to do with everything of like, you know, like nothing separate. Like, we're literally just all part of the same stream of consciousness, just like our own little like piece of it. Yeah. And that, think of it, the whole thing doesn't exist if you don't exist. That's how important you are to the grand fucking cosmic scale that of all creation, of everything. Yeah. If you don't exist, the whole, it's like Jenga over. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing's gonna collapse.
That's how important.
And like, to me, when you it's a lofty concept. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around of like, you know, like genetically, you literally have the universe, like in, like you have the genetic code of everything, like in you, and this has it, this has it, this has it. Yeah, like, it's all, every part contains the pieces of the whole. Yeah, right. And to me, that reminding myself of that, of like how important you are, like the grand cosmic scheme of like, literally the universe would cease to exist if you didn't exist, because it would lose that piece of itself. And like, that just can't happen, because
that's how much people matter.
Yeah. Everything
matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the...
And yet so many people are not feeling that. And that's that loneliness, that I don't matter, the mental health crisis that we're experiencing. It's really unlocked in when we start to ask these questions and realize that like this human experience is something that we can all connect. We're all connected through. And it's not even the human experience. It's like the universal energy.
You deal with like getting depression or
anxiety much more than depression. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm a forward thinker. What do they say? Depression's in the past and anxiety's in the future, and bringing it back to the present is where the true joy is found. And I've definitely experienced that. And I have to constantly remind myself and to not.
Yeah, I get both. I go, my body is this way and my mind is this way. And I'm just like, wait, what?
Well, that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thing because we've been talking a lot about repression of feelings and like the old way of sweeping things under the rug. And I think my body has definitely kept to those patterns of injuries and aches and pains and the things that come out in your body that people don't realize. It's all emotionally, it's all tied to the way that we process or don't process what's coming through in our lives. So, and that's what I love. I mean, this.
You know how good my hips feel? It's not because I did a yoga class today. After that cry I had this morning.
Seriously.
Like, everything
Natasha knows that drill with me. I
died.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, and the emotion that comes out and then the way your body feels. I've done yoga practice. I end up crying on my mat all the time. And I don't even know where it's coming from. And yet in life, I'm very not comfortable with anger and I don't cry. Like, it's very hard to get me to that place.
Nope, yeah, I'm the same way. Like, the crying, not necessarily just because I kind of meet people where they're at emotionally. Yeah, like, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of explaining earlier, like, when I was meditating with a buddy last night, like, it was like we were having, like, a dual experience. It was, like, one mind. It was weird. Mm-hmm. So bizarre.
Well, you're both very energetically open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, we're, like...
Yeah, and you're really close.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
Like, I've never experienced anything like that of, like...
When you have those experiences...
It was like I was, like, observing someone else's mind.
Yeah. When you have those experiences, don't you want other people to feel what you feel? That collective consciousness? Like, because I think if people...
No, that's why I forced him to meditate with me last night. I was like, you need to do this. Like, because he started asking me some questions. I was like, I don't have words that are going to answer that for you because words just don't really do it justice. Mm-hmm. Give me 20 minutes of your life. Like, you just have to experience this. Like, you just have to do it.
Okay. And he listened.
He listened, and I got a little bit of the bear because I made the bear cry. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
So, if we could, like, wrap this up, because we're both so after this healing collective, right? We want people to feel better and relate to each other better, have better relationships, and as we're moving through this world that we're currently living in, how do you encourage people to start to ask the questions, to not be scared of the answers?
I mean, there's still questions that I ask to this day that I'm afraid of the answer. Mm-hmm. Because...
And there's levels to that, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's just the ego.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
You're like, be afraid. It's good. Like, you need
and
to
do
be
it
afraid.
anyway. Yeah.
And do it anyway. Ask the questions. It's hard. But guess what? Like, you know.
Because the thing I'm realizing is that people get stuck, and I see this in my life because I have various types of relationships. And as I move through my own ascension, you start to go, I'm moving away from this, and I'm looking this way. And when people think that everything is coming from the external, that it's out there, what's happening to me is
life's happening to you,
to me, right? It's
you.
Not for you, and there are things that are happening, and it's coming at me, rather than realizing like everything is already inside of you. And if you can flip that paradigm, everything shifts. But it seems like a really hard one for a lot of people. And that's not a shaming thing. It's just like, this is just my observation of watching, and I'm walking this road, right? There's so many things I have left to do and know and heal and be curious about.
It might seem that, like, I know some shit. I don't know jack. Like, this is all just, like, stuff that found its way to me. I have been I don't think I've been this emotionally beat up over the last couple of years as I have ever been in my life. Like, I've locked myself away in rooms for days on end.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's not pretty. Like, looking in the mirror and trying to figure yourself out, like, what the fuck do I want out of life? Like, how do I get it?
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, like, just how can I let go of all this stuff?
Yeah.
It isn't ugly.
It's not pretty. And anybody that makes it sound like it is, and sometimes I think that's what social media does, is like, yeah, there's some great wisdom. You can clip it and you can throw it out there, and maybe it helps people, you know, grab onto things. But it's really, it's the long form. It's playing the long game. Like, nothing gets solved in one conversation.
I told my friend, she went and had, like, one of the girls that she works with, she's kind of like a medium.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And she had a reading, and she told me it was trippy. Like, the hell trippy. But then she just had so many questions, and I looked at her, I was like, this is going to be one of the hardest things that you've ever done in your life. Like, there's no being ready for it. Just know. Like, it's not all going to be at once, but you open Pandora's box, if you will. And once you open the box,
you can't.
There's no, and that's just what I've learned, and that's what I'm just noticing with people, and that's what happened with me. Mm-hmm. Like, sorry to throw you under the bus, Mom, but I've seen what has happened to people in, like, my family and my friends who have, like, clairvoyant abilities, like these gifts that have repressed them. Mm-hmm. And what has happened to them over time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm convinced that 2 women that I know, very similar, are 2 of the most gifted healers, or I don't know what it is, because the way things manifest in their body physically is so aggressive and, like, powerful. I'm like, if you learn to flip that energy into whatever you wanted it to go to, I mean, you know,
instead of letting it, because if you keep it inside, it makes you sick. You have to let it out, and you have to accept it. It's radical acceptance of your gift, and the world will tell you that it's wrong or that it's
not real.
It's not real.
You know what's nuts? I remember when I was a kid, I used to be able to take a fucking ball of light in my hand and play with it. Like, I used to be able to just, like, oh, hey, like, just, like, coming out of the thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
And I told people, and they were like, oh, no, it's just your imagination.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, yeah, probably.
Yep.
And now I'm like,
dang it, fuck. Got it. Well, but see, you've tapped back in, and if there's anything I could say, like, that's how we connected, because
I think we were just, like, around each other, like, I think we just have to talk.
I know. And you've tapped back into a place that, like, well, one, where I want to be, right? That's that healing path, that acknowledgement of your gifts, and not saying that there's something wrong with them and there's nothing weird about them. Like, it's a gift.
Oh, life's just weird.
Life is just weird. Exactly. It's all weird, but, like, the shame-based place of, like, that's not real.
I had one of the weirdest nights of my life last night. It's continued into this.
This conversation. But, you know, if there's anything that we can do to just encourage people to keep asking the questions and be curious, and even if you're afraid of what's coming at you, just keep going, because there's so much there, and that's where the healing is. That's where the second half of life is. It's rich.
What did we say last night? We were talking about, was it, I hope everyone gets the opportunity to die while they're still living.
Yeah. And that's what everybody's afraid of. That's what we were talking about. And the
fear of death.
The fear of death is it. That's it. But we're not living forever. So what are you going to do with it?
We are. That's the irony, though.
Yeah.
It's like, this meat suit's temporary.
Yeah. Yep.
So you might as well enjoy it. I mean, shit. Dude, literally do what whatever you feel like. Feel. Don't say think. That's the important thing, right?
Yeah.
Do what you feel. Like, yeah, this thing, the ego is designed to protect you, and it does a good job in like the situations of like life or death. Like, yes, that definitely needs to be like kicked in, but don't let that be the driving force of your decision making.
Yeah.
You know, like that fear, like, oh no, like,
what will they think?
What do they think? I don't think it's gonna work out. Like, dude,
yeah,
take the risk, fall flat on your face, laugh about it, get back up, brush yourself off. Like, I'm not gonna lie, my life was fucking hard last year. I took a lot of L's, like a lot. I did not also have to expect to pay like 4 rents in 2 months. Yeah, you know, like I could be like, I'm struggling right now. Like, nah, like it's just part of it. It's not even spring yet, and last year was definitely an enemy year for me. You know, so just keep pushing forward, but don't be afraid to ask the questions. And like, there's no right or wrong system, right? Like, although I will argue, like, there are some that this is science, but anyway, whatever the modality that you choose to go with, like, commit to it, but don't let the belief system draw you in, right? Like, just know exactly, like, just know that that's just like a life raft that you're on to like get you to the island or like get you home, right? Like, it's just one way of purveying a set of universal principles that just holds true. Yeah. You know?
Well, I know we could do this
for hours.
And
like, give me more coffee. Let's do it.
I know, right? I think the thing we're doing is today just really wanting people to be curious.
No, and like that's it. Like, that's why I love doing this.
Curious.
I think that's my whole thing.
Yeah.
Is like, I love learning.
Me
and
too.
I love teaching, and I love sharing this. And I know that there's going to be some point in my life that this is what I do, is I share information, I teach, I do all those things. And, you know, I'm just so happy that I get to come on here and, you know, just have these kind of conversations with people. I never thought it was going to happen.
I know, right?
Once I felt it happen,
there it happened.
I stopped thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, with that, I would love to have you back when you get your place open. And I'm excited to hear, you know, great things are going to happen there. I can feel it.
If you ever just got a day you want to do a podcast and have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll drive down.
Okay.
North, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this today.
That was a blast.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. There's just too much to uncover.
Oh, we haven't even gotten like 0.5% yet.
Yeah, many more dinners, many more podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us on What I Meant to Say, another production of Inspired Edutainment, brought to you by Be Better Media.